Episode 7. Ark tries to fix himself. This is how the episode begins, alone, before anyone is awake, casting the uncursed spell on his own body while the forest is quiet around him and no one can see what he is doing or how many times he has to try. It works in a limited way. The effect lasts for a moment. Then the curse reasserts itself. He tries it again. The same result. He works through the implications methodically, the way he approaches most problems. Either the curse is self-perpetuating by design, or something external is maintaining it. The Bishop class Uncurse can lift the surface layer, but cannot reach the root. He considers the High Priest class ability, Holy Purify, which breaks curses at a deeper level. But that particular skill does significant damage to undead, and applying it to himself with his current form is not a risk worth taking without more information. He needs the spring near the Lord Crown. He's been told it can break anything. He files this away and puts his helmet back on before Ariane finds him at it. She does find him, just not at the casting. He is distracted in the saddle, and she notices. He tells her it is nothing important. She lets it go in the way of someone who does not let things go so much as decide to revisit them at a better moment. They are heading toward Olaf, the capital of the Rodent Kingdom, where the trafficking contract leads. The most direct route cuts through a forest. Ariane suggests taking it to save time. Saving the elves still on that contract is urgent, and every day matters. At a waypoint on the road, a local warns them. There are monsters in those woods. Something called haunted wolves have been attacking people. 10 incidents in the last few days alone, which is not normal behavior for this type of creature. He recommends the main carriage road instead. Ark looks at Ariane's expression. He does not need her to say anything. Between the two of them, haunted wolves should not be an issue. They go through the forest. Ariane, as they enter the territory where the wolves were last spotted, mentions something about the wolf's fur, a blue luminescent quality that makes it highly prized. Her sister is getting married soon. A veil woven from that fur would be, in the context of their culture, an extraordinary gift. She says this, and then immediately says to forget it. They do not have time for that kind of detour, and Ark should not read anything into the fact that she mentioned it. The wolves appear before she finishes the sentence. Haunted wolves are pack hunters with a specific and genuinely unsettling ability. They generate multiple lifelike illusions of themselves during a hunt, using the visual noise to disorient prey and obscure the actual threat. In practice, this means that Ark and Ariane are suddenly facing what appears to be a dozen wolves from every angle, none of which behaves as a single clear target. Ariane shifts into combat immediately, reading the attack patterns and engaging with the efficiency of a warrior who has been doing this for decades. She is strong, extraordinarily so by human standards, but raw power has natural limits when dealing with multiple fast-moving targets whose positions are unreliable. Ark watches, analyzes, and arrives at the solution, the pack leader. If the leader falls, the pack loses its coordinating intelligence and the illusions collapse. He locates the source. He uses Dimension Move, a short-range teleport, line of sight, to appear directly beside the pack leader. He uses fire. The combination is definitive. The pack scatters. The illusions dissolve. Ariane turns to look at what just happened. There are no words immediately. Ark shrugs in the way of someone who is also slightly surprised things went that cleanly. He is also, in the aftermath, quietly collected enough of the distinctive fur for a full veil. He mentions this to Ariane with the careful casualness of someone who planned nothing of the sort and simply happened to notice an opportunity. Ariane's reaction to this is not extensively catalogued. She accepts the fur. What neither of them knows yet is what the haunted wolf attack was connected to. There is a carriage on a road not far from their forest path. It is a diplomatic party. Princess Uriarna, making her way toward Limbolt for the negotiations she believes can prevent a larger conflict. The employ rings, devices that this story's antagonists have been using to control creatures, directing them toward specific targets, have been set on this group. The wolves that attacked Uriarna's escort were controlled by these rings. The attack was not random. The intent was to remove her from the board. Uriarna's escort is slaughtered. Uriarna herself does not survive the attack. And then something extraordinary happens. Ark casts Regeneration. He does this because the ambient magical field of the attack left a traceable residue, and his priest class abilities include wide area healing that operates even across a distance when conditions allow. He does not know the carriage exists. He does not know who is in it. He casts the spell because something in the direction the wolves came from feels wrong, and he errs toward intervention. The dead come back to life. Not dramatically, not all at once with a great light and thunder. They simply are gone, and then they are not. Injuries closed, breath returned. Ferna, the princess's attendant, wakes up confused and then, as understanding arrives, overwhelmed. She searches for Uriarna. Yuriarna is alive. Most of the escort is alive. The dead soldiers are alive. The damage that was meant to be permanent is reversed. Yuriarna comes back to consciousness with the absolute conviction of someone who knows exactly what happened to them and knows exactly why they survived it. She does not know who is responsible. She does not know Ark exists. But she rises in front of her bewildered escort and does what a princess who understands what it means to have been given another chance does. She commands them forward. She will reach Limbo. She will complete her mission. Whatever force saw fit to return their lives to them has given her a clear obligation. She rides. Ark and Ariane, meanwhile, have no idea any of this occurred. Ark has a vague sense that something happened. He cast the spell. He felt the result. He knows it did something. But the shape of what it was will not be clear to him for a long time. He puts it out of his mind. They emerge from the forest. Olaf, the capital city, spreads out before them, enormous and alive with commerce and noise. And at the edge of the crowd, a familiar silhouette. The furry-eared ninja, waiting, in the way of someone who was not certain they would run into this person again, but prepared for it anyway. Ark's internal state at seeing this is approximately the emotional equivalent of a victory fanfare. Arian notices that he is locked onto something. He tries to keep his reaction to a professional level. He is not entirely successful. Episode 8. This episode opens from a different perspective, which is worth taking seriously, because it tells us something about how Ark looks from the outside, which is, in a word, inexplicable. The narrator is Cheon. She has been traveling through human territory searching for captured beast people, her kin, taken and held by people who regard them as property. And this has brought her to the town of Dianto, where she encountered something she has not been able to stop thinking about. A human, in unusual armor, carrying a spirit creature, moving through a conflict zone with a calm that she could not categorize as either fearlessness or ignorance. He smelled wrong, by which she means every race has a characteristic scent, and this one had none of the markers she expected. Something about his presence was simply different from any human she had ever encountered. Strange, unclassifiable. He called her a ninja. That word is not supposed to exist in this world. It belongs to her clan's internal vocabulary, preserved from a founder who came from somewhere else 600 years ago. No outsider should know it. The fact that this armored stranger used it casually and correctly is, to Cheon, either a massive coincidence or evidence of something she needs to understand. She decided, we will meet again. She was right. Now in Olaf, the three of them find a less conspicuous location for the conversation that needs to happen. Ark makes introductions properly. His name, his status as a traveling mercenary, Hanta as his companion. Arian gives her full name. Cheon gives hers and adds a title. One of the Jinshin clan's 6 ninja. Ark's internal monologue at hearing this is a cascade of cultural recognition. Jinshin, Jin meaning blade, Shin meaning heart, combines in the original language of his world into the word shinobi. The 6 ninja carrying titles drawn from legendary historical figures. A founder who came from his world 600 years ago and built something that has persisted ever since. He processes all of this with the barely suppressed excitement of someone who is working very hard to appear composed. He is not entirely appearing composed. Ariane, who has been watching him, asks if something is on his mind. He says, not exactly. Cheon asks the question she has been waiting to ask since Dianto. Why did he call her a ninja? This is not a word that should exist in his vocabulary. Ark's answer is careful. In his homeland, there are skilled operatives who move in ways similar to hers, and they are called by that name. It is a true answer. It is also the closest he can come to the fuller truth without explaining things he is not sure he can explain. Cheon considers this. She concludes that he must share a point of origin with the clan's founder, the person who came to this world from somewhere else and built the Jinshin clan's traditions from what they carried with them. She mentions the founder was alive 600 years ago. Ark's internal response to this is to wonder if the phenomenon of arriving in this world has been happening for a very long time, and to whom, and what else they may have left behind. He asks if the founder is still alive. The answer is no, practically a legend at this point. Ark files this away. Gomen is introduced, another of the 6 ninja, a beast person warrior of considerable stature who greets Ark with an evaluating look that Ark returns with equal consideration. This goes on for a moment. Then Gomen says something short and complimentary about Ark's manner. Ark says something short and complimentary about Gomen's. Arian watches this happen and says nothing. There is a recognition between fighters that does not require much language. Cheon gets to the point. She has a request. These people have been captured and sold into slavery, just as elves have. Her clan has been working to find and free them, but the scale is larger than the Jinshin clan can manage alone. She can offer information, specifically the location of the individuals listed on the trafficking contract that Ark and Ariane have been following, in exchange for their help with a raid. She is asking them to join an operation against the Etsit market, the largest slave market in Rodin. Ariane looks at Ark. This is, technically, his decision as her contracted mercenary. He can weigh whether this falls within the scope of their agreement. But Ariane does not frame it that way. She frames it as a question about Chiome. Has she been working toward this since she was young? Chiome says yes. It is what she trained for. It is what she knows. Ariane recognizes something in that. The motivation is not strategic. It is the same thing that drives her. The refusal to let her people remain in chains while she has the ability to do something about it. She agrees. Ark notes internally that he was never going to say no. He says yes. The plan takes shape. The Etsit market operates with significant security. It is the kingdom's largest such operation and has the resources to defend that status. A direct assault in daylight would fail, but a coordinated strike from multiple angles, timed together, with Ark and Gomen drawing attention to the front while Ariane and Chiome move through the back. That is a different calculation. The Jinshin clan has other strike teams operating on the same night, targeting the smaller satellite markets that feed into the Etsit operation. The goal is systemic disruption, not just a single rescue. They brief. They plan. Ark and Gomen confirm their respective roles, and, in the process, exchange a few testing movements that are probably the closest either of them comes to small talk. The result is mutual acknowledgement of competence. This is the fastest Ark has established rapport with anyone in this world who is not a child or in acute need. Elsewhere, the people responsible for the employ rings, the devices that controlled the haunted wolves during the attack on Yuriarna's convoy, are assessing the damage. The wolves did not complete their mission. The rings were destroyed before the operation could be finished. The princess, wherever she is not confirmed dead. This is a problem for the people who arranged the attack, who now face the uncertainty of whether their target survived. They have no answer. They have to keep moving without one. In the morning, the Etsit market will open for business. It will be the last time. Episode 9. The Etsit market goes loud fast. Ark and Gomen hit the front entrance with the explicit goal of being impossible to ignore. This is not a situation that calls for subtlety. The front is a distraction, a very capable, very effective distraction, but a distraction nonetheless, designed to pull every guard, every reinforcement, every officer toward a visible threat, while Ariane and Chiome move through the back. The plan requires Ark and Gomen to absorb a great deal of attention. They are both fine with this. What they discover early is that their capabilities have an unexpected combined effect. Gomen's ninjutsu techniques interface with Ark's spell work in a way that amplifies the output of both. A technique that fortifies physical strength in one, running in sequence with Ark's elemental magic, produces results larger than either would generate independently. They note this with the mutual satisfaction of people who enjoy finding out what they are capable of. They keep moving. The market's operators are having a terrible morning. The report from inside is immediate and alarming. Not just the Etsit market, but 4 others across the city are under simultaneous attack. Coordinated, skilled attackers. The operator managing this site demands reinforcements and receives the news that there are none to spare. He is not handling this gracefully. He is not going to be in a position to handle it at all before much longer. At the rear, Ariane and Chiome have moved past the guards who had abandoned their posts to deal with the obvious threat at the front. The interior of the market is grim in ways that the episode does not dwell on, but does not flinch from either. This is a place where people are kept as inventory. There are cells. There are control mechanisms. There are the sick and injured who could not be evaluated for market value and were therefore simply left, without care, in conditions that reflect how little their captors value them. Ariane and Chiome move with purpose, freeing everyone they find, directing those who are capable of fighting to take up weapons from the guards they encounter. Chiome announces herself when the captive beast people ask who she is. The Jinshin clan. The name lands with visible force. These are people who were taken from the beast people territories, and the Jinshin clan represents the part of the world that still fights for them. The reaction is not cheering. It is the specific kind of relief that comes when someone who had started to stop believing in rescue is confronted with the reality of it. Hanta, in the middle of all this, appears to be navigating independently and has found something that needs attention. The spirit creature's instincts are reliable, and Ark follows them when the path opens up. Gomen stays behind at the critical moment. He holds the reinforcements, and when the royal army arrives from the palace, called in by the market's management, He is still there, managing multiple opponents through a combination of physical technique and ninjutsu that impresses Ark when he hears about it later. He gets through this. He is not unaffected by it. There is a moment where Chiom, arriving to find him surrounded, uses liquid wolf fang to clear the space around him. But he makes it through, and the people inside get out. That is everyone. The Etsit Market's captives are free. The Jinshin clan's other teams report the same result from the satellite markets. The entire operation, in one night, has been dismantled. Ark comes for the final group of guards with Gomen beside him, and they finish it. Ark's magic in the enclosed space of the market's corridors is, by Gomen's assessment, more than sufficient. He does not let any of them say this. In the aftermath, they gather everyone in the hall. Chiom delivers her promised intelligence. The people listed on the trafficking contract, the elves who were sold further than the operation in Dainto could reach, were taken to the Holy Revlon Empire, east of Roden's border. This is the destination. This is what comes next. The episode does not end at the market. It widens. In the Grand Duchy of Limbolt, Princess Yuriarna has arrived. She reunites with her sister Seriarna, who married into the Limbolt family, and learns something that reconfigures everything she thought she knew about who was behind the attack on her convoy. Prince Dekars is dead, not at someone else's hand. The blame falls in a direction that makes the political picture far more complicated than she expected. Her necklace, a family heirloom, lost during the attack, was found on Dekars when he died. But she does not believe the story that is being assembled. She has her own suspicions about how pieces were moved. She makes a decision. Keep her survival quiet. Do not announce herself to her father yet. Let the people who believe she is dead continue to believe it, because that belief will make them careless. She has work to do. She came here to negotiate with the elves. She is going to finish it. And in the imperial capital of the Holy Revlon Empire, Emperor Domitianus receives a report. Dekars is dead. The operation with the employee rings did not produce the desired outcome. The princess is believed dead, but not confirmed. He receives all of this with the detachment of someone who considers these events manageable adjustments rather than setbacks. He is already working on the next stage. There is a person named Fumba whose plans, he is told, are progressing. He says he looks forward to seeing what Fumba has arranged. He should not be this calm about what Fumba has arranged. Ark does not know any of this yet. He knows they are going to the Holy Revlon Empire. He knows the work is not finished. He also knows, standing in the quiet of the market's aftermath with Gomen on one side and Arian already thinking about the next move on the other, that whatever low profile meant when he first arrived in this world, it is not what he is living anymore. He is mostly at peace with that. Arian says, "Let's hurry." They set out. Episode 10. The road east begins with wyverns. Not one or two. A group, flying in formation in a way that these creatures do not normally do. Something has disrupted their behavioral patterns enough that they are moving as a pack, which is unusual and which makes the road ahead considerably more complicated than it should be for a group trying to travel quickly and without drawing attention. Ark handles this with a mid-tier area of effect lightning spell that disperses the entire group in a single wide strike. Clean result. Efficient use of available tools. The aftermath is less clean. The spell's output was stronger than he anticipated, and the wave effect catches Ariane, Ponta, and the bird they have been using as transport with a stunning force that he absolutely did not intend. They are unharmed, but there is a period of recovery during which Ark stands in the silence of his own excellent action and its unintended consequences, and Ariane, once she can hear again, requests that he warn them before deploying spells at that scale in the future. He apologizes. He means it. They are heading for the Holy Revlon Empire, where Chiom's intelligence places the remaining captive elves from the trafficking contract. Unlike the Roden Kingdom, the Empire does not legally prohibit the capture of elves. This means that beyond the border, the normal social architecture that at least nominally constrains what people can do is not available. Ariane knows this and is apprehensive about it in a way she does not easily verbalize. The danger is not just increased, it is categorically different, because the law itself becomes the enemy rather than the exception. At a border town, before they cross, an unexpected encounter. A dark elf, identifiable as such, with distinctive features that mark them as separate from the elves Ariane represents, is sitting at a local establishment being greeted by name by the regulars. He has been living in this human town for 10 years. His name is Held. He is a monster biologist by profession. Ariane's reaction to this is immediate and requires Ark's intervention, because the sight of one of her kin living openly in a human settlement, without apparent fear or concealment, produces a response that combines confusion with something close to anger. Carsey responds with a patience that suggests this is not the first time he has had this conversation. He has lived here because he wanted to. He has built relationships here. He does not present this as a universal solution or a repudiation of elf culture, simply as his own choice, and as evidence that the version of human society that treats elves purely as resources is not the only version that exists. He drops a name, Lambert, a port city in western Roden. A lord there freed an elf who was on the verge of being sold into slavery. That elf is still there. They have built something together. It is not a political statement, he says. It is just what happened between two specific people who decided to be decent to each other. Arian absorbs this. She does not have an immediate answer for it. Carsey asks for their help. He studies monster biology, and some of his current research subjects have proven difficult to capture or recover. He would like their assistance. In exchange, he can provide something extremely useful, a map of the Holy Revlon Empire. He overheard them. They need it. He has it. Ark would like the map. He would also, he will admit, very much like to help capture or recover monster specimens for a researcher. This is objectively interesting. Ariane, recognizing that the map is not optional for the mission ahead, agrees. What follows demonstrates Ark's capabilities in a way that has nothing to do with fighting enemies. The test Carsey had in mind requires physical strength and speed applied at a specific angle, in a specific window, to manage a creature that does not intend to cooperate. Ark reads the situation, adjusts his approach, and handles it with the precise economy of someone who has been calibrating force applications against unusual targets for months. Carsey watches and concludes that he has made an excellent trade. The map changes hands. They set out toward the border. Carsey says, before they go, that he thinks the future he imagines, humans and elves living alongside each other without a power imbalance defining the relationship, might be closer than it was. He does not know why he feels this way. He says it as an observation, not an argument. Ark and Arian walk. Arian asks Ark, at some point on the road, what he thinks about a future like the one Carsey described. Ark gives an honest answer. The individuals of each race are too numerous and too varied to make collective predictions, but many among both, individually, might choose coexistence. The way, he says, they already have. Arian tells him he does not count, because he does not look like a human. Ark says that despite appearances, he does consider himself to be one. Arian does not have a follow-up to this. What is happening in the Empire while they travel is not comfortable. A man named Fumba, who serves the Holy Revlon Empire under a particular arrangement with Emperor Domitianus, has been managing a facility near the border town of Kasek in ways that the people nominally overseeing him find increasingly difficult to contain. He treats his arrangement with the Empire as personal license. He does not respect the boundaries of his role. He has been using his position to pursue his own interests in directions that are harmful in ways that his nominal supervisors acknowledge but cannot easily address, because he has the Emperor's direct interest, and that interest currently outweighs their concerns. They are afraid of him. They should be more afraid of what he has been building in the fortress. Ark and the group enter Kasek. They are in the Holy Revlon Empire. The architecture is different. The atmosphere is tighter. There are no familiar faces here, and the rules that gave them any margin for error in rodents do not apply. They will need to be careful. Ponta settles on Ark's shoulder. Ark looks at the city and the fortress beyond it, and decides that careful is the correct approach, and also that they are going to need to find those elves quickly. He is right on both counts. He just does not know yet what they are going to find when they do. Episode 11. The Empire is not what it presents itself as. Kasek is a border town that looks, on the surface, like what border towns look like. Commercial, regulated, slightly more on guard than the interior of the country it serves. The gates are checked. The streets are controlled. The impression is one of order. Ark, walking through it with Ponta and Ariane while trying to gather information without gathering attention, quickly learns that the surface is not the full story. In the fortress to the east, unexplained sounds at night. Cries that carry through the dark in ways that the locals have learned not to ask about. In the town itself, a pattern of disappearances, people who went somewhere and did not come back. Rumors about monsters appearing at the edges of Imperial territory. No word at all about captured elves, which is the one thing Ark is specifically looking for, and the one thing his discreet questions cannot surface. He needs Ponta's eyes over the empty information he has gathered. This is going to be harder than finding and rescuing captives has been before. There is a villain scene that opens the episode, set before Ark arrives in town, and it is worth describing briefly because it establishes the scale of what is happening in that fortress. Fumba, the monster sorcerer who operates under the Emperor's sanction while systematically ignoring every constraint placed on him, is demonstrating his operation to someone who has made the mistake of expressing concern. He is not a subtle person. He keeps monsters. He feeds his monsters. He treats the disappearances in town as a resource management question rather than a moral one. The person raising the concern does not finish raising it. We do not need more detail than this. The point is established. Fumba is dangerous in a specific way. He is petty and vicious and has been given enough power that his pettiness has scale. This is what makes him frightening. Not capability, though he has that. Disposition. Arc, knowing none of the specific details, but reading the ambient wrongness of the situation correctly, splits up with Ariane to cover more ground before they rendezvous at sunset. He feeds Pana honey walnuts. He reviews what he has. Strange sounds from the East Fortress. Missing people. Monster activity at the borders. Nothing direct about the elves. He has enough to form a hypothesis, but not enough to act on it cleanly. The rendezvous, when it comes, is interrupted by something that is not part of the plan. A group of men are attempting to force a young woman into a situation she has not agreed to and is actively trying to resist. Ark intervenes. He does this with the same absence of deliberation that has characterized every intervention he has made since arriving in this world. Something is wrong. Something is in reach. Something needs to stop. He ends the incident with the technique the SRT transcript helpfully labels Armored Head Flick, which requires no further description other than to note that the men involved discover very quickly that the physics of their situation have changed in a decisive direction. The woman recovers her composure and is released from the scene. Ariane arrives moments later, before this interaction is fully resolved, with actual intelligence. She has a lead. The elves were at the fortress 4 months ago. That is a long time. Ariane says what neither of them wants to say. For months is long enough that they might already be gone, or worse. She says it anyway, because it is a real risk and naming it is better than arriving unprepared. Ark says he is willing to gamble on them being alive. This is not optimism for its own sake. It is a choice about how to approach what comes next. They move on the fortress at night, which is the only window that makes sense given how visible everything is in the daytime. Ark notes, approaching it, that Ariane had apparently been somewhat irritable during the day, which Chiom, who meets them at the rendezvous, confirms with the diplomatic phrasing of someone who witnessed the whole thing. Ariane maintains that she was not irritable. Inside the fortress, there is a hidden staircase. They find it because Ariane's senses pick up the wrong kind of quietness in the wrong part of the floor. Below cells, the smell of animals, iron gates, and through those gates, something that opens into a larger underground space. Fumba is there. He has been waiting, or perhaps not waiting, just present, occupying a space that is his by force rather than right. He is not alarmed by Ark and Ariane. He is curious, in the way of someone who does not often encounter things they have not already categorized. He has done something to Ariane that Ark does not immediately identify. A possession technique, an imp hidden in her clothing that has placed her under a layered illusion that keeps her conscious but immobile. She can see, she can hear, she cannot move or speak. Hanta finds the creature responsible and Ark eliminates it, which frees her, but the damage in terms of what she has witnessed is already done. Fumba's manner in the time she was under his control told her exactly what she needed to know about him, and what he has done with the elves he received 4 months ago. Most were sent further into the Empire for its ongoing experiments. A few were kept for his personal purposes. Ark's reaction to this information is notable because he rarely gets genuinely angry. He is unsettled, though. He keeps it contained because the situation still requires function. The white tiger Fumba summons to deal with him is handled. The confrontation is not over. Fumba retreats to the surface, and the word masterpiece is not what you want to hear from a man who breeds monsters as a hobby, but the immediate threat inside the fortress is neutralized. And then they are outside, and there is something in the dark that is much, much larger than a white tiger. It has multiple heads. It has a resistance to damage that makes Ark's first assessment of the engagement that they need more preparation before engaging. Entirely correct. Fumba is above them somewhere, connected to it through the same ring-based control mechanism that has been appearing throughout this entire journey. The creature he has been developing in the fortress under the border town of Kasek is a Hydra, a creature that has earned, in this world's history, the title of Ruiner of Nations. Ark and the group are very much in the open. The Hydra notices them. The episode ends here, on the specific pause before something enormous decides what to do next. It will not pause for long. Episode 12. Fumba has a history that the episode takes a moment to show us, and it matters, because it explains how someone ends up here, in a fortress with a monster that should not exist, with the power to direct it at a populated town, with a face that shows only satisfaction at what he is doing. He was not always this. He was, once, a member of a clan that found him insufficient. He sought recognition and was given contempt. He sought power through the usual paths and discovered that the usual paths are controlled by the people who already have power, who have no interest in redistributing it. The grievance he accumulated is real, even if what he does with it is not defensible. He acquired the ability to tame and command monsters, a rare and genuinely powerful skill, and found his way to Emperor Domitianus, who is the kind of leader who evaluates people as resources and found Fumba's ability useful. Fumba was given authority, a region, materials to work with. He built a hydra. He fed it. He directed it at the people who had dismissed him and the institutions he blames for his exclusion. And now, standing above the open field where Ark and the others have just survived the creature's first assault, he is experiencing something that looks like triumph and functions like it, too. He is wrong about what comes next. The Hydra's opening blast is massive, something capable of leveling fortifications, directed at 3 people in an open field. Ark raises the holy shield of Tutates in the moment he has and activates its defensive function. The shield holds. It should not hold. It does. When the energy clears, Ark is still standing, and so are Ariane and Chiom. And Fumba above them is staring at this outcome with the particular expression of someone whose model of the situation has just been invalidated. Ariane is conscious. She was conscious through all of it. The illusion technique that held her motionless did not take her perception, only her ability to act. She heard everything Fumba said. She knows what he did with her kin. She is not in a state that resembles calm, but she is in a state that resembles controlled fury, which is different and more dangerous. The division of labor is clear. Fumba is moving. He will not go far. Ariane and Chiom will find him. Ark will deal with the Hydra, which is already turning toward Kasek, toward the people in the town who have done nothing to deserve being in its path. Someone says, there is nothing to be done about a ruiner of nations. It is too large. It is too powerful. It has earned that title across multiple historical instances. Ark's response is to note the difference between forces of nature and forces that can be killed. Earthquakes and storms cannot be addressed. A creature, however large, is a creature. He heads toward it. What follows is the longest and most demanding fight Ark has been in. The Hydra does not fall to a single technique. It does not fall to the first engagement, or the second, or the sustained assault that Ark maintains with the sword skills and elemental magic that have handled everything this world has thrown at him up to now. The creature regenerates. It has exceptional resistance to specific elements, and its multiple heads allow it to redirect attacks and maintain offense while taking damage. Ark works through the tactical problem the same way he works through everything, analytically, without panic, adjusting his approach each time a strategy proves insufficient and arriving eventually at the combination that works. The Hydra falls. This is not a small thing. This is the kind of creature that has ended dynasties. Ark kills it in a one-on-one engagement with no support, in defense of a town whose inhabitants did not know he was there and will not entirely know what saved them. Ariane and Chiom find Fumba. He does not get away. The confrontation is not extended. Fumba at the end of his operation, stripped of his creatures, is a much smaller problem than Fumba at the height of it. He is finished here. In the aftermath, there is quiet. The kind of quiet that comes after something enormous has concluded. Ark stands in the field outside Kasek, and the soldiers of the town are processing what they just witnessed a figure in silver armor do, and the calculations they are running about what kind of being can survive what Ark just survived and do what Ark just did are producing answers that do not have names yet. Ariane is alive. Chiom is there. Panta is absolutely fine, as Pana always is. And then Chiom, who has never had occasion to see Ark without his helmet, sees Ark without his helmet. The reaction is exactly what it always is, and it is exactly as funny as it always is, and Ark's response is the patient explanation of a man who is accustomed to this conversation. It is a curse. He is working on it. Yes, he is aware. The world is already moving, even as this particular moment finds its equilibrium. In the Rodin Kingdom, Yuriarna is alive, and the news of her survival will reshape the political landscape in ways that the people who tried to remove her are not prepared for. Emperor Domitianus, receiving his updated reports, is calm in a way that signals he is not done. The employee rings were useful data. Fumba's operation produced information even in its failure, and the Empire has more in motion than Fumba was privy to. The world is not fixed. The episode does not promise that. What it does give is this. Ark, standing in the morning with the people he has come to trust. Ariane, who has changed his understanding of what he is supposed to be doing with his capabilities. Chiom, who is possibly descended from someone like him, and represents a thread that connects his world to this one in ways he has not fully explored. Panta, who chose him before any of the rest of this began. Arc reflects on what has happened since he woke up in a forest wearing equipment he designed. For fun, he did not plan for any of this. He planned for a quiet life. Small quests, local color, no complications. He is going to the lair of a dragon lord to try to break a curse. He has eliminated the largest slave market operation in a kingdom, helped free elves and beast people alike, accidentally resurrected a princess, defeated a hydra, and become, apparently, a figure that soldiers report upward with no idea what category to put him in. He says he will quietly, inconspicuously, continue his adventures. Arian looks at him. She says, after what he just did, he cannot possibly say that with a straight face. She's right. He does not have an answer to this. He simply continues. The spring near the Lord Crown is still ahead. The elves still missing from the contract are still unaccounted for. There is more road between them and anything resembling resolution, and the Empire has not stopped being the Empire. But Ariane will take him to the Lord Crown, and the answer to the curse, whatever it is somewhere ahead of them on a path that has not been straightforward since the very first step. Panta settles on his shoulder. The road continues.